it's Samantha, and we have another interview today. One of my dear friends, and I'm a huge fan of their music, have been for like maybe 8 years since we've known each other, and I'm really excited to introduce everybody to VECT, capital VECT, and it is an acronym, and I was hoping today, welcome VECT, and I was hoping today that you would tell us what that acronym means and what it stands for, and if that's a secret, I would love if you divulge that here today. So that's my first question. What does VECT stand for?
Samantha! Hiya. Thanks for having me on here with you. I couldn't imagine anyone more ideal for it and wanted to do more with you through the years. It was actually 10 years we known each other, and from what I remember, you first got exposed to my 6th album, Violent Virtues. I put that out in 2011, so it was right before I met you. And I remember you liking some songs from that album, and Lone Wolf, and miscellaneous songs, and then reposting them, which was always awesome from any listener, and still is. The name VECT got thrown at me like a brick when I was 19, and it became more, with experience. My signature spelling for violent is VILENT for the double meaning. Altogether, it means violent edifice contending tonality. So I'll let those who choose to delve on that instead of over-explaining it. It's as easy as can be to say, but since it's so uncommon, people always screw it up somehow.
So today we will be discussing one of the songs on the album Dark Daze, Bright Nights, and that's the album that we'll be discussing for part 1 and part 2. Today I wanted to start with number 2 on the album called Bipolarbear. So VECT, why don't you let us know what date this album was released? And that's my second question.
Yeah, that song hits a lot of people like a bullseye. Because mental health is worse nowadays. And when people find something that saves them or helps them in some ways, it leaves a big healing impact on them. And the sanity is safe too. The album was finally released July 2nd, 2020. Almost 2 whole years since we last seen each other.
So I got a lot of information from your video on YouTube called DDBK Insights 2020, Dark Daze, Bright Nights, Insights. That's where you discussed the full album, and it was a really great interview. I recommend everybody go watch that. It looks really cool with the wolf night vision look, and it's very, very full of knowledge and insights to who you are as a person. So I got a lot from that, but today we'll be discussing the song Bipolarbear. And I really relate to this song so much. It helped me so much. It's really anxiety in a nutshell. And there's some lyrics that I really like that I'm just gonna say that sound so much better in the actual song. But one of them is, I feel the jitters that become shakes like shivers. My nerves be throwing fitters, mindset turning bitter. And I think that anybody who has anxiety can definitely relate to those lyrics. That's really anxiety in a nutshell. So I really love those lyrics. And I wondered, is music your outlet for your anxiety? And what else do you use to cope with your anxiety?
Yeah, thank you for recommending the Dark Daze, Bright Nights Insights video. I went through a lot of Q&A in that video. I was happy you were into it like that. Really glad the song's helping you. Originally, that's the biggest reason I started doing music, to pull people out of their troubles and make them rethink things and not feel singled out. Personally, I have the bipolar disorder, and it haunted me for a long time. I didn't get medication for it because it's been counteracted in me, and I wasn't being honest with myself for what to do about it. It's been medication in itself to do the song, share it with some people, and even sometimes listen to it. Anxiety is oftentimes natural or self-inflicted. Again, if you're not honest with yourself, then your condition will only get worse. You cope with it, and it starts there. Truth is not supposed to be pretty or soft. It's harsh, like working out, and it only helps out. So I don't take myself too seriously, as most, so I'm a big proponent in humor, and wasn't for a long time, which caused me more of the problem. I empty a lot of raw energy in that regard, and in conjunction with being active in physical exertion, I smoke cannabis very often. I read a lot. I keep to myself. All these things keep the edge off. Then I'm not so anxious. And one of the biggest things that keep the anxiety low is being patient. Anxiety and patience are such rivals, and my faith is truly for being patient. And in this album, I've experienced the healing power and the fun that psychedelics can yield us. That was the big message I got from mushrooms. Patience gets you through a lot of things, man.
Another lyric that I really love is, "I'm a flip of the coin every day and just try to numb the pain in my brain." And that really explains bipolar switches, which I can definitely relate to as well. And I was wondering, do you feel like you've gotten better with bipolar switches and just better at coping with those?
Immensely. Yeah. I've bettered my solutions for it. Stress is seriously underrated for the harm it causes us, and we trivialize it. And when we trivialize serious shit like that, oh, we definitely pay for it. Significantly. I recognize it because of my honesty, and I don't let the fire be ignored and build up. It's like an emergency button that needs to be hit when you feel the heat rising to the top. It's another thing that patience helps with, combined with realizing that you're taking yourself too seriously. Lots of things are worth nothing more than a laugh. And that's kept me centered and prevented it from getting burned up from the frustrating rage. I feel weak sometimes because I've let the anger win, as we all have at one time or another. It's embarrassing and childish to be so impatient and lose your cool, if it's very often. I know we got some deniers out there, but denial isn't helping anybody regarding this.
I can really see the humor and the violence kind of combined in this song, which really, describes you so perfectly. You're so hilarious, yet you have that violent side to you that you really love to express in your music. And I was just wondering, how did you master combining humor and violence in your art form?
Thank you for that. This album and Portrait of a Villain, the album before, have been a breed of horror comedy. It was me embracing more of it, just being a payaso, a clown. I'm the sad clown. I've always been. And I deeply enjoy making everyone laugh. So embracing your darkness while also having fun with it, and making fun of it, has been the art. As I said, I've taken myself too seriously in the past, which helps nobody. Your life can slip away if you're angry or serious all the time. Moderate that shit. There's beauty in sadness and violence sometimes. Believe it or not, that's the balance, man. Most are too closed-minded to see it that way, and some are not. Some are not afraid to admit that tragedy and darkness have their beauty and humor. I just didn't give a damn what anyone thought negatively about these last two albums because they were for me first. Rather than others, where other albums I put others first. I know people don't like me. I know people don't understand me. This isn't for them. As someone who's deeply examined humor, everything has a funny side to it. It's about your perception on it. That's it. If you're generally chill, insightful, cheerful, calm, versatile, then you see more to life. Rather than living in solid, stressful, angry, dramatic, judgmental shittiness, that is not cool. That really measures on how you appreciate things. And I'd rather take all the real stuff that we all think and feel and sometimes turn it into comedy. That's just being innovative. It's being more free with your emotions.
What year did Bipolarbear come out? And were there certain instances that inspired that song, and can you talk about those?
Yeah, there's a multitude of things that created that joint. Aside from just living it, I would write it down periodically. I wrote Bipolarbear in 2018. That was a stressful year. I was elaborating on the ubiquitous stupidity I'd seen regularly. I was like Tupac that year, man, because I didn't know who to trust. I almost got into a few altercations that year, and around that time, even one time in 2017, I almost put my foot deep up somebody's ass at the McDonald's parking lot. I did a variety of things to provoke him, but I knew he was a coward, so nothing happened. But I'm like a wolf. You don't corner a wolf. If so, suffer the consequences.
So in your DDBK Insights 2020, you really talk about your passion for writing and how you just always have a notebook and it's what you're about. And so I was wondering, did you write down the lyrics for Bipolarbear? Did you write down the lyrics for Bipolarbear all at once? Okay, retake. Did you write down the lyrics for Bipolarbear all at once?
I usually never write any song all at once, except a few of them occasionally. Sometimes it just comes out like a bloody nose. And I remember writing in 3 to 4 big sections on this song. I actually wrote too much of it and had to slice some of it out. I overfilled the cup, but then sized it all the right way and got it right where I wanted it.
So when you came to visit me, you taught me something that means so much to me that I never thought I could do. You taught me Jiu-Jitsu, and I was wondering, how does Jiu-Jitsu help you with your violent urges?
Thank you. That is really cool to stay with you like that. I remember I showed you a rear naked choke, a Kimura, and triangle. It's much the patience issue. If you don't try another method, you don't better yourself or your solutions, and there's better solutions than just punching someone out every time. It gives more opportunity for better recourse. Nobody gets their teeth or nose broke. I just twist a couple body parts on you and turn you into an immobile pretzel. Because females don't know how much they can actually conquer in different ways. Like yourself, you can take someone my size or someone much bigger and you can control everything if you know how to manipulate force. The origin of Jiu-Jitsu is for smaller people to protect themselves against larger opponents, rather than using brute force in a one-dimensional defense method. I cannot encourage females enough to get into Jiu-Jitsu or any kind of fighting that involves the ground. 90% of fights go to the ground. Then everything changes. It's a whole new world, like Aladdin, you know what I'm saying? I have 2 younger female cousins who have big potential. Like my little cousin Brooke is this flexible little girl who's practically made of rubber. And I tell her mom how great of a jiu-jitsu practitioner she can be with that crazy dexterity she has. It's amazing the power you can have over someone without even striking them. Jiu-jitsu doesn't involve striking. If you incorporate strikes, then it becomes mixed martial arts. Females are very vulnerable in a risky, unpredictable, dangerous existence, and they need to learn how to weaponize themselves more. Jiu-Jitsu changed my mind for the better. It taught me patience. It taught me how to be more kind. You become more kind when you realize how badly you could fuck up someone. It's been one of the best things that I've ever done in my life, and God bless the Jiu-Jitsu community. I hope you'll get closer with it, and that's entirely why I was handing you a couple moves whenever I'd see you.
Another lyrics that I really love is, I hide in the shadows like dim light until I get right. And I was wondering, how often do you like to be alone? And how often do you like to be around people?
Ooh, I spent a lot of time alone. Clinically, I probably spent too much time alone. It's been like this since I was 10 and got increased with age. It's no irony or coincidence whatsoever why I named my first 2 albums Isolated Incidents and Lone Wolf. I feel like the more time you give to someone, you lose things for yourself. That's one of the hugest mistakes. I used to dip into the extrovert lifestyle sometimes, then I'd find myself all mentally and emotionally chewed up and depleted afterwards. It's also the sake of being in the good mood, the good mind state. I don't want to be around anyone when I feel like a prick or hostile. I'm more responsible than that. It's like bringing a big weapon out in public. I'm more responsible than that. That is why I discernibly immerse myself to the public in small doses and durations. I get reminded without fail and endlessly how negative it is in the world and can be easily infectious. Kind of like someone going too long without a shower. Go clean your dirty ass up, then come back. Feel me?
Another question that goes along with those lyrics that made me wonder, You've done a lot of performing. You've done comedy, you've done music, and I was just wondering, how does that affect your anxiety? What's that like for you? Because, you like to hide in the shadows like a dim light, but when you do go into the light, you like to be in the stage lights. So I was just wondering, what's that like for you?
Here's how that dichotomy works. I'm not a fame seeker, attention whore, needy of attention, none of it. I do enjoy attention sometimes in moderation. I enter the room and most people are always gawking and looking at me, whatever the reason is, whatever it might be. That's usually what's common. So I use it to my benefit. Another reason why I'm able to do so is I can choose it whenever I please. I can be finicky. As opposed to career musicians and comedians, I can choose when I want the acknowledgement. And being needy for attention is a weakness and a big character flaw. That's a giant reason I don't do this as a career profession and do it as a hobbyist. I don't want to make this into work and then get tired of it and hate it like many have. This way, I don't have any obligations or under anybody's authority except my own. It's really better when you can do things in your own leisure and it keeps less stress on me that way. Much like the time I spend on people, I do it minimally and I'm not overspending my resources, you know what I mean?
So I know your fans mean so much to you, and I was wondering what's their reaction to Bipolarbear been? For me personally, I'm gonna listen to it every time I feel those switches coming on, or that I need to be alone, or that, society's just being too much for me, because it helps me remember that somebody else can definitely relate to this 100%, and you kind of say all the violent things that go on in my head for me, and it's just such a great outlet now for me to listen to. So I was wondering, what are some of the reactions from your other fans to this song?
Really, exactly how you feel about it is what they told me. Some people have gained more personal understandings about themselves and their conditions through my words. They realize as many songs of mine, they are not alone and should never feel like they are that much. Everyone has these harmful visions and thoughts, and yet we all judge each other for it when we can't. I am really glad this is like your emergency brake for when you're about to throw a fitter on someone. It's like a seatbelt. And it's relieving this does that for you. You need that. And I'm also relieved you take it seriously when you feel that way. You don't need to suffer. Music reminds us all about that, adamantly.
And how do you think this song Bipolarbear can help other people?
My songs are saying to people, hey, come over here for a few minutes. Let me tell you some things that might be helpful. And anyone that wants to help themselves, they're going to gain something positive out of it. The song just illustrates how to make things more simple for yourself, laugh at the dark thoughts instead of acting on them, listen to the song in different ways, because that inspires recourse.
Some more lyrics that I really love from Bipolarbear is, I never claim to be all there, leave a message at the beep. Reality and dreams, it's all the same as I'm walking in my sleep. And I really love that and can relate to that, as I also disassociate sometimes as part of being bipolar. And I was wondering, what are some things that you do to help you become more present in the moment?
I love when you quote the lyrics. That's special to me. It says to me, right on, this person's listening. To lower the tension, I use laughter a lot. Even if it's nervous laughter. I'm going to try some of the jokes in the situation if it allows me. Breathe slow and deeply. That will gain patience and slow your frustrations down. Don't cage yourself into the situation more by yelling and arguing with them. More flames doesn't lower the fire. Sequester yourself. You need to get the hell away from that person or people sometimes. It's just focus on something or someone else. Stop thinking about you. Stop thinking about your shit. And get back to it. Go read something helpful. Go eat something healthy. Go watch something or listen to something that relaxes you in whatever way. Cool yourself off and try to deal with the problem again and maybe differently.